Footnotes 13 Hammers der Assassin and History of the Assassins and the same writers fund Gruben de Orient Mines of the East M. Jordanes Extrait de l'Ouvrage de Merc Hunt sur la Dynastie the Ismailites, and Malcolm's History of Persia, are the principal authorities for the following account of the assassins. 15 The name given to the dynasty founded by Ardashir, from his pretended ancestor Sasan, the grandson of Isfandir, a hero greatly celebrated in the ancient history of Persia. Isfandir was the son of Gushtasp, who is supposed to be the Darius Hystaspes of the Greek historians. Sir John Malcolm has endeavored to identify Isfandir with the Xerxes of the Greeks. 17 The Oriental proper names being mostly all significant, we shall translate them when we first employ them. As, however, it is not always that it can be discovered what the original Arabic characters are of an Eastern word which we meet in Roman letters, we shall be sometimes obliged to leave names unexplained, and at other times to hazard conjectural explanations. In the last case, we shall affix a mark of doubt. 18 The Kubla Khan of Coleridge Poetical Works, Volume I, page 266 is a fine instance of this power of the mind, withdrawn from the contemplation of material objects. The reader will probably recollect the sign given from heaven to Lord Herbert of Sherbury, on the occasion of his work written against revealed page 19 Religion. The writer has lately heard an instance of a lady of fortune, to whom, as she reclined one day on a sofa, a voice seemed to come from heaven, announcing to her that she was selected as the instrument for accomplishing a great work in the hands of God, and giving, as a sign, that, for a certain number of months, she should be unable to leave the sofa on which she was lying. Such is the power of imagination, that the supposed intimation in regard to the sign actually took effect. She believed herself to have lost the power of motion, and therefore did in reality lose it. 20 C. In Sir J. Malcolm's History of Persia, the dialogue page 21 between the Persian king Yazdijurd and the Arab envoy. Whatever, said the latter, thou hast said regarding the former condition of the Arabs is true. Their food was green lizards, they buried their infant daughters alive. Nay, some of them feasted on dead carcasses and drank blood, while others slew their relations, and thought themselves great and valiant when, by such an act, they became possessed of more property. They were clothed with hair garments, knew not good from evil, and made no distinction between that which is lawful and that which is unlawful. Such was our state. But God in His mercy has sent us by a holy prophet the sacred volume, which teaches us the true faith, and c. 21 Hallam, Middle Ages, 2, 165. 22 The Hebrews, as appears from the poetic parts of the Scriptures, had the same delight in the clang of rhyme as the Arabs. See particularly Isaiah in the original. Chapter 2. Origin of the Caliphate. The first Caliph's extent of the Arabian Empire. Schism among the Mohammedans, Sunnis and Shi'ite sects of the latter, the Kisani, the Ziyadites, the Gulat, the Imami sects of the Imami, their political character, the Karmathites, origin of the Fatimite Caliph's secret society at Cairo, doctrines taught in it, its decline. The civil and ecclesiastical dignities were united in the person of Muhammad. As a mere prince he administered justice and led his followers to battle. As Imam director he on every Friday the Mohammedan Sabbath taught the principles and beauties of religion from his pulpit. Though his wives were numerous, the Prophet had no male issue surviving at the time when he felt the approaches of death, but his daughter Fatima was married to his cousin Ali, his early and faithful disciple, and it was naturally to be expected that the expiring voice of the Prophet would nominate him as his Caliph's successor over the followers of his faith. But Aisha, the daughter of Abi Bakr, Mohammed's youthful and best beloved wife, was vehemently hostile to the son of Abu Talib, and she may have exerted all the influence of the revengeful woman over the mind of the dying Prophet. Or perhaps Muhammad, like Alexander, perplexed with the extent of dominion to which he had attained, and aware that only the vigor of character similar to his own would avail to retain and enlarge it, and, it may be, thinking himself answerable to God for the choice he should make, deemed it the safest course to leave the matter to the free decision of his surviving followers. His appointing Abi Bakr, a few days before his death, to officiate in his pulpit, might seem to indicate an intention of conferring the caliphate on him, and he is said to have at one time declared that the strength of character displayed by his distinguished follower, Omar, evinced his possession of the virtues of a prophet and caliph. Tradition records no equally strong declaration respecting the mild and virtuous Barley. At all events, the prophet expired without having named a successor, and the choice devolving on his companions. Dissension was ready to break out, when Omar, abandoning his own claims, gave his voice for Abu Bakr. All opposition was thus silenced, and the father of Aisha reigned for 2 years over the faithful. Barley at first refused obedience, but he finally acknowledged the successor of the prophet. When dying, Abu Bakr bequeathed the scepter to Omar, as the worthiest, and when, 12 years afterwards, Omar perished by the dagger of an assassin, 6 electors conferred the vacant dignity on Othman, who had been the secretary of the prophet. Age having enfeebled the powers of Othman, the reins of authority were slackened, and a spirit of discord pervaded all Arabia, illustrative of the prophet's declaration of vigor being essential to a caliph. A numerous body of rebels besieged the aged Othman in Medina, and he was slain, holding the Quran in his lap, by a band of murderers, headed by the brother of Aisha, who, the firebrand of Islam, it is probable had been secretly active in exciting the rebellion. The popular choice now fell upon Barley, but the implacable Aisha stimulated to revolt against his authority. 2 powerful Arab chiefs, named Talha and Zubair, who raised their standards in the province of Arabian Iraq. Aisha, mounted on a camel, appeared in the thickest of the battle, in which the rebel chiefs were defeated and slain. The generous Ali sent her to dwell at the tomb of the prophet, where she passed in tranquility the remainder of her days. The caliph himself was less fortunate. Muawiyah, the governor of Syria, son of Abu Sufyan, the most violent of the opponents of the prophet, assumed the office of the avenger of Othman, whose death he charged on Barley and his party, and, declaring himself to be the rightful caliph, roused Syria to arms against the prophet's son-in-law. In the war, success was on the side of Barley, till the superstition of his troops obliged him to agree to a treaty, and shortly afterwards he was murdered by a fanatic in the mosque of Kufa. His son Hassan was induced by Muawiyah to resign his claims and retire to the city of Medina, but his more high-spirited brother, Hussein, took arms against the Caliph Yazid, the son of Muawiyah, and the narrative of his death is one of the most pathetic and best related incidents of Oriental history. The sisters and children of Hussein were spared by the clemency of the victorious Yazid, and from them descended numerous races, glorying in the blood of Ali and the Prophet. The Arabian Empire was now of immense extent. Egypt, Syria, and Persia had been conquered in the reign of Omar. Under the first caliphs of the dynasty of the Umayyads, so called from Umayyah, the great-grandfather of Muawiyah, the conquest of Africa and Spain was achieved, and the later princes of this family ruled over the most extensive empire of the world. The great schism of the Mohammedan Church, we must be permitted to employ this term, the only one our language affords, commences with the accession of the house of Umayyah. The Mohammedans have, as is generally known, been from that time to the present day divided into 2 great sects, the Sunnis and the Shiites, the Orthodox and the Dissenters, as we might venture to call them, whose opposite doctrines, like those of the Catholics and the Protestants of the Christian Church, are each the established faith of great and independent nations. The Ottoman and the Uzbek Turks hold the Sunni faith, the Persians are violent Shiites, and national and religious animosity concur in making them the determined and inveterate foes of each other. The Sunnis hold that the first 4 caliphs were all legitimate successors of the Prophet, but as their order was determined by their degree of sanctity, they assigned the lowest rank to Ali. The Shiites, on the contrary, maintain that the dignity of the Prophet rightfully descended to the son of his uncle and the husband of his daughter. They therefore regard Abu Bakr, Omar, and Othman as usurpers, and curse and revile their memory, more especially that of the rigid Omar, whose murderer they venerate as a saint. It must be steadily kept in mind, in every discussion respecting the Mohammedan religion, that Muhammad and his successors succeeded in establishing what the lofty and capacious mind of Gregory VII attempted in vain, the union of the civil and ecclesiastical powers in the same person. Unlike the schisms of the Eastern and Western, of the Catholic and Protestant churches, which originated in difference of opinion on points of discipline or matters of doctrine, that of the Mohammedans arose solely from ambition and the struggle for temporal power. The scepter of the greatest empire of The world was to be the reward of the party who could gain the greatest number of believers in his right to grasp the staff and ascend the pulpit of the prophet of God. Afterwards, when the learning of the Greeks and the Persians became familiar to the Arabs, theological and metaphysical niceties and distinctions were introduced, and the two great stems of religion threw out numerous sectarian branches. The Sunnis are divided into four main sects, all of which are, however, regarded as orthodox, for they agree in the main points, though they differ in subordinate ones. The division of the Shi'as is also into four sects, the point of agreement being the assertion of the right of Ali and his descendants to the imamate, or supreme ecclesiastical dignity, the point of difference being the nature of the proof on which his rights are founded, and the order of succession among his descendants. These four sects and their opinions are as follows. 1. The first and most innocuous of the sects which maintained the rights of the family of Ali were the Kisani, so named from Kisan, one of his freedmen. These, who were subdivided into several branches, held that Ali's rights descended, not to Hassan or Hussein, but to their brother, Muhammad ben Hanfi. One of these branch sects maintained that the imamate remained in the person of this Muhammad, who had never died, but had since appeared, from time to time, on earth, under various names. Another branch, named the Hashemites, held that the imamate descended from Muhammad ben Hanfi to his son Abu Hashim, who transmitted it to Muhammad, of the family of Abbas, from whom it descended to Safa, the founder of the Abbasid dynasty of Caliph. It is quite evident that the object of this sect was to give the color to the claims of the family of Abbas, who stigmatized the family of Umayyad as usurpers, and insisted that the caliphate belonged of right to themselves. Baby Muslim, the great general who first gave dominion to the family of Abbas, was a real or pretended maintainer of the tenets of this sect, the only branch, by the way, of the Shi'as which supported the house of Abbas. 2. A second branch of the Shi'as was named Ziyadites. These held that the imamate descended through Hassan and Hussein to Zayn al-Abidin, the son of this last, and thence passed to Ziyad, whence their name the son of Zayn, whereas most other Shi'as regarded Muhammad Baqir, the brother of Ziyad, as the lawful imam. The Ziyadites differed from the other Shi'as in acknowledging the three first caliphs to have been legitimate successors of the Prophet. Idris, who wrested a part of Africa from the Abbasid caliphs, and founded the kingdom of Fez, was a real or pretended descendant of Ziyad. 3. The Gulat Ultra, so named from the extravagance of their doctrines, which, passing all bounds of common sense, were held in equal abomination by the other Shi'as and by the Sunnis. This sect is said to have existed as early as the time of Ali himself, who is related to have burnt some of them on account of their impious and extravagant opinions. They held, as we are told, that there was but one imam, and they ascribed the qualities of divinity to Ali. Some maintained that there were two natures, the divine and the human in him, others that the last alone was his. Some again said that this perfect nature of Ali passed by transmigration through his descendants, and would continue so to do till the end of all things. Others that the transmission stopped with Muhammad Baqir, the son of Zayn al-Abidin, who still abode